This is a special edition of Late Night Health. I'm Mark Allen, and we're going to visit with our friend Jim LaValle. Now, Jim has so many initials after his name, I cannot begin to tell you. Jim, just briefly, give us some of your background.
Well, I've been, I'm a clinical pharmacist, board certified in clinical nutrition. I got my diplomat in homeopathic pharmacy and homeopathic medicine from the British Institute of Homeopathy. Oh gosh, studied theology, started a naturopath school, never did end up getting that licensed, but did get, we had a degree program there. Taught at the University of Cincinnati College of Medicine and the College of Pharmacy for 18 years. Currently on faculty at George Washington School of Medicine and Health Sciences. And I'm the co-chair for A4M, American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. I'm the chair of the International Peptide Society. And I've worked on patients the last 38 years. So I probably had the largest clinic in the country doing personalized care and personalized medicine. Stemming back into the late 90s is when we started all that. So I've been at it a while, 38 years in the business.
Wow. And still going strong.
I sure am going strong.
That is true.
Absolutely. I'm thinking, I'm wondering when the battery's going to run down, but I mean, I'm going to be 63 this year and the battery hasn't ran down yet.
Well, and you look terrific. How many hours do you spend in the gym?
Well, I spend a little time in the gym. Yeah. I mean, I probably, probably an hour a day doing something minimum.
Got it.
Like hour to hour and a half doing something. Could be stretching, could be, being on a treadmill, could be lifting weights, but I have a pretty active lifestyle.
That is terrific. Do you still have your clinic in Orange County?
I do.
So you're in Orange County, California,
I sure do.
And also in Texas.
Now in Texas, in Cedar Park, right outside suburb of Austin. I guess it's actually its own little town, but it's right outside Austin. And then also in South Lake, which is right by Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. So I stay busy.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about stress as we enter the new year and we have the holidays either behind us or coming up, depending on when you are watching this. Stress is something that is affecting each and every one of us every day. And we're going to take a look at some, I guess, invisible stressors. And Dr. Jim is going to tell us how to avoid those. So what would be an invisible stressor to start off with?
Well, I think most people don't associate that they're under chronic stress with, how they feel day in and day out, right? So one of the things is you can get, when you're under stress, you can get energy crashes during the day. So, midday, the 3 o'clock drop, I got to have that cup of coffee, loss of focus. So one of the things that happens when you're chronically get under stress is that you start to create more neuroinflammation, and that can lead to things like, focus and concentration problems, trouble falling asleep and staying asleep. People don't realize that insomnia is a disorder of hyperarousal, meaning your brain takes on too much stress during the day and it can't get it out at night. And so your brain stays in hyper awareness. And that means you're either going to be thinking about what you got to do the next day before you go to sleep. And that you either can't get to sleep or you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about what you didn't get done. Right.
And sleep is really important, isn't it? It's regenerating those batteries.
It's so important to get a good night's sleep, whether it's telling your beta cells of your pancreas to release insulin the next day. I mean, getting a good night's sleep is critical if you're interested in longevity. And obviously the other ones are, do you crave sweets or carbs? Or more importantly, even when, you get home from work, it's 5 o'clock, you pour a little glass of wine, then you pour another little glass of wine, or you have a goblet right away, right? You pour a big glass of wine right away. And cravings for alcohol, sweets, and carbs is a very big sign that stress is impacting your chemistry. And then,
What
not
about,
being able to,
Jim, I'm sorry, what about when you crave savory or protein?
well, craving protein is different. Savory is still carby. So, but protein's a little different than that. If protein's not causing, is it being triggered by, stress. What happens when you get under chronic stress is your serotonin pool drops. And when your serotonin pool drops, your brain says, get more carbs or get more sugar in here. We need to make, some serotonin. And so that's where you don't, you don't realize, why am I getting home from work hugging a potato chip bag?
Yeah.
And, why do I have to have something, sweet, and then maybe probably eat too much of it? You can lose hair. You gain weight from stress. A lot of individuals that as their stress levels are up, their weight goes up. And that's because, one, you're going to crave more. And two, when your stress levels are high, you're making more cortisol. And what cortisol does is it tells your insulin receptors to get sluggish. And when that happens, you're going to store fat and you're going to create more inflammatory signaling. So you're more prone to injury too.
Today, not long ago, I did an interview and we talked about protein and how people think they need protein, and maybe we don't need as much protein as we once thought.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I've worked on a lot of people, and I've found as people lower their protein intake, if they're eating more carbs, they end up gaining weight and getting more blood sugar issues. Um, do I think people should be excessive with protein or excessive with fats? No, but I think that there's right now we're back, the pendulum always swings, right? Now
Yeah.
we're back to, oh, maybe protein isn't so good. And then the next wave of studies will come out and say, well, maybe it's better than we thought it was. I've never had problems with people, taking in protein. I have problems when people take in too much starch and too much sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the things that I get problems with. I mean, I know the kind of the longevity pundits are out there saying, oh, plant-based and that's it. Problem is, I have people coming in after they were following that stuff for 4 or 6 months, and they're not getting these dramatic results that the studies seem to be saying.
Well,
So
what about, you mentioned wine, and maybe 2 or 3 times a week. I know people who have a glass of wine or, a cocktail, one, maybe two, but not excessively. They may eat fats and they may eat carbs, again, in a minimal amount. Is that okay? Can you mix that in with a good diet?
yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any problem with people mixing in a little bit of fun. Look at your blood tests. Where are they at? I mean, you may find out that you can handle a little bit of carb, but you can't handle the fat, or you might find vice versa. So I think for people, it's just really important to the rule of thumb is simple. When I eat this, do I feel better or not? Do I feel bloated? Do I feel gassy? Do I get tired? How do I feel when I eat? And I think that's important. And just remember that, when you're under chronic stress, you're driving your brain to want to eat more, so that chronic stress piece plays itself out across how I'm going to fix my immune system, how I'm going to relate to my weight, what's my, joints going to feel like, what's my memory going to be doing. And so I think it's really important for people to understand that, you have to work at your health. You have to work at modulating your stress. It doesn't do a lot of good to just, let things pass you by, or, don't engage with it. Right. So that's what I think is most interesting about that is it's all about getting people to engage and to try to make those changes.
I think that most people today are under some kind of chronic stress, whether it's work, lack of work, money, relationships. I mean, there's all kinds of things that come together and cause stress, and it can be chronic, which is continuous rather than a one-time event.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, that leads to things called, one of the biggest problems, meta-inflammation or metabolic inflammation. And, it's just important to realize that you may have to take things to help balance that out. For example, for the immune system, taking something like Moducare, which is a plant sterol and sterolin extract, actually helps to keep your immune system in balance when it's shifting in any one direction.
Mhm.
And it's a plant-based product, very interesting. But I think it's, at the same time, you want to kind of get an idea, well, what's the lifestyle I need to be thinking about, right? Getting more sleep is important. Taking that Moducare is great because it really helps to build up your immune balance. And then if you start thinking about, well, I did my lab test. Do I have any issues? If your lipids are off, I'd first make sure you've cut your sugar down, make sure you cut your carbs down. And then right away, I would go for something like a red yeast rice that could be really beneficial for individuals.
I have a problem with some of the I guess like a Lipitor, because it can
Gives you
adversely
muscle ache.
affect. I'm sorry.
You get muscle aches.
Well, I don't take it, but I don't want to take it because I've heard terrible problems. My mother took it and she had no issue
Right.
other than the price of the product. It's one of the
Right.
most prescribed drugs in the world today.
Right.
And even though there are generics, which in my mother's case actually worked better at lowering her cholesterol
Wow.
than the actual Lipitor itself. So my question is, should we be careful in looking at prescription drugs to lower cholesterol and stress?
Well, yeah, I mean, stress raises your lipids. So when you get under stress, your cholesterol goes up. So I would try to dampen my stress, take natural compounds, like what I had mentioned earlier. So you can start to make some sense out of how you're going to, maintain your health. Most people today probably need immunomodulation. Most people today need to dampen their they need to dampen their inflammatory response. And so, things like aged garlic extract. I know you said you started talking about Kyolic aged garlic extract. I mean, there are so many studies on Kyolic aged garlic extract and its ability to dampen stress response. It's incredible. I mean, it's knocking down inflammatory cytokines that people have. And those are the kind of things that you really need to target to kind of get people back on track with, where am I going with my health? I'm busy. It's hectic. I got to make a lot of decisions about what I can do, can't do. Some people can't do a bunch of different things. So I think that, one of the biggest things to do is start to look at, well, where am I? Lipid wise, where am I? Because lipids can end up reflecting how inflamed your body is, not just that you make a lot of cholesterol. It's trying to make that cholesterol to repair you. And so understanding that and trying to get a grip on all that, I think it's important for people, because I think people going into the flu season this season, they got beat up pretty bad, non-COVID.
Right. And then there's the stress of the pandemic, of COVID itself.
Yeah, it's still not gone away, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's, it keeps rearing its ugly head a little bit, and everybody freaks out and thinks we're going to be back to the way it used to be. And it's a legitimate concern.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
I mean,
But yeah, when you start doing things like taking that Moducare, the plant sterol and sterolin, you start taking things like aged garlic that changes the microbiome and keeps the inflammation out of the blood vessels. That's the biggest thing that people don't understand, is that if I'm living a lifestyle that's promoting inflammation, I might not even feel my joints hurt. But what I will feel is the fact that, oh my gosh, my blood vessels are going down. They're starting to get tighter because they're under a lot of heightened stress. That's going to raise your blood pressure. It's going to start to cause reduced blood flow to the kidneys. All those things need to kind of be working properly for you to be able to cope with and deal with stress.
What about meditation? Is that something that can help?
That's a really good question. So I like active breathing. Meditation's good, but it doesn't reset your autonomic nervous system. So it's great to meditate, but you should get like a breathing app or one of these guys, where it tells you when it's time to breathe. I can't believe I know when to breathe now. But it's one of those things where you need to have an intentional exercise of breathing to change kind of that stress response. So that would be box breathing. 4 seconds in, hold 4 seconds. On the exhale, think about all the stuff you're letting go of from the day, 4 seconds, and then back again on 4 seconds.
Wow. So in, out,
Box
4 seconds.
breathing.
It's a
In, hold for 4 seconds, out, hold for 4 seconds, in. And that's beneficial because that resets the autonomic nervous system. And they're finding out that that's incredibly important for heart disease risk.
Anti-aging, and to me, anti-aging, I don't like the words because if you're, well, think about it. We're aging, okay?
I'm not, and I don't look like I'm 16 anymore. So
No.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, when we first started talking, I had black hair. It's been that long. And so I guess my question is we want to age gracefully. We want to age healthfully. We do want to beat back those wrinkles, the bulging tummy, and reducing stress. Exercise, breathing, meditation, and supplementation. But a lot of people just don't get it, do they?
No, they don't. Well, no, I mean, look, most people are motivated by, pain or a problem.
Right.
So once they have pain or have a problem, they get what they need to do. They start to search out for help, which is great. It's great to find out, but it's just, I think stress is something that you just don't correlate your quality of feelings. If you're not shaking and you're not depressed from having chronic stress, and you don't need Xanax, you don't need Prozac, people think, oh, well, my stress is fine. But you got to look at thyroid hormones. You've got to look at immune markers in your blood. There's a lot of different things that would say, here's where you're going because your thyroid is low and these areas are high. And I think that's important for people to understand that you can start to take control of your life by taking control of some of these singles, numbers that are really popping up on your blood test.
This is Late Night Health. It's a special edition with Jim LaValle. He's been a guest many times on the show over the years. We look forward to subsequent chats because that's what we do. We're putting hard questions to him, but we're making this friendly. I guess with our lifestyle in the United States and in Western civilization. I was talking to a friend of mine in Germany earlier this morning, and there is stress all over the world, whether it's political stress, family stress, but stress is a killer. I mean, heart disease is one of the biggest, if not the number one cause of death.
Absolutely. And you have to look at it like the stress hormone cortisol makes you release more adrenaline, noradrenaline. Your blood vessels get stiffer and smaller. Now I got to pump blood through a smaller, stiffer hose. The kidneys get cheated of the nutrients they need, so they start getting damaged. And it's this vicious cycle. And as your cortisol goes up, your blood sugar goes up because your body thinks you got to get ready to fight for a white tiger. So that blood sugar goes right up. And so it's really important for people to kind of be honest with themselves about stress and not think of it as there's nothing strong or weak about it. It just is.
The taking supplements, the medical profession in general has still not jumped on the bandwagon of taking natural products. I've talked to a number of MDs recently that have seen the light. The light switch has gone on and they go, oh, we should have been doing this for years. But
Right.
there's still not as many. Can you give us some reasoning for that?
Well, I think, first of all, none of it was taught. So that makes it hard. You're going to have to go and do extra classes. I always live by the idea that new ideas don't get accepted. Old people die. And I think there's a part of that. And then look, I think there's a part of that criticism that's legitimate, that we should be studying our extracts more in patient populations and showing the results and creating the value for the natural product company. Because in the end, you're not going to get approved, not the way you want to.
Right.
So I think, when you're looking at these, you really have to just think about what are the biggest steps that I can do to modulate the stress response. Because when that cortisol goes up and those blood vessels get stiff, now all of a sudden, yeah, the adrenaline's up, but I can't get blood flow to my kidneys. And that's called renal hypertension, which kind of layers into all this stuff.
Right.
If you go out there and you look outside, there's a stinking dialysis center everywhere.
Oh yeah, they're popping up right and left. It's amazing.
They really are. And it's very expensive.
Yes.
It's very expensive care. And once you have to go to dialysis, your quality of life goes dramatically down, because you go there a day, you get the procedure, you feel kind of wiped out the next day, then you go back again the next day. It's very difficult. And a lot of this is within our reach. So getting a better night's sleep, you can work on. Improving your diet, you can work on. But sometimes you need other things to help get yourself back in check or in balance. And I think it's one of the most surprising things that we still don't recognize. We've got almost 50% of our population is obese.
Yeah, it's sad. Jim, one more time, you mentioned Kyolic, and you mentioned another product as well.
Moducare.
And spell that for us.
Moducare.
Moducare. Perfect. Well, we've had their website up throughout our interview, as well as yours. And if you have questions for Jim, I know that he would be happy to advise you in one way or another. So you can do that. So I'm going to record this. Jim has agreed to come to our sister program, maybe sometime in January or early February, which is Mark Allen Cooks, and we'll come up with a healthy, maybe stress relieving recipe that's easy to do and tasty.
Of course.
Okay. That would be.
It has to be tasty.
Yeah, we eat for taste. I mean, we do. Jim, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And I thank you for watching. I'm Mark Allen, and this is Late Night Health.